What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to a surprise, a little surprise, sort of breaking news reaction here on the Volleyball Source YouTube channel. My name is Rob St. Clair, and as you know, based on the title of the screen here, and if you've been on the internet within American volleyball in the last couple hours, you have learned what we learned just released a couple hours ago, that USA Volleyball, the USA Volleyball organization, the federation, has named its next president and CEO, and it is none other than now former UCLA men's volleyball coach and former United States men's national team coach John Speraw. So John Speraw, to make that clear, John Speraw is leaving both of his current head coaching positions at UCLA and with the USA men, and will start as the next USA Volleyball president and CEO on October 1st, 2024. So those two major programs immediately have head coaching vacancies, and there's a whole lot of other things to get to related to this news that came out today. So first and foremost, want to thank everyone for watching. Encourage you to get active in the YouTube live chat. Let me know any questions, or just get the discussion going. It's supposed to be like a little Q&A thing. Also, let me know if you can hear me okay. I'm going to try and zoom out my camera a little bit. Hopefully it looks a little bit better. How about... Nope, that's the other way. Yeah, I think I like that better. Yeah, I think I like that better. Okay, so John Speraw is no longer coaching volleyball at any level. He leaves UCLA, he leaves the USA national team, and he succeeds Jamie Davis, who it's been known for a few months now that Jamie Davis's contract as the USAV president and CEO was not going to be renewed. Jamie will stay on through the end of this year to help with the transition, but it is John Speraw who's the next guy. And I'll start first and foremost by saying that this is shocking. This is extremely surprising. I did not see this coming. Really, nobody in American volleyball saw this coming. I got the news today, just a couple hours before it was announced publicly, and I was shocked because basically everybody in American volleyball thought for sure that somebody else was going to be named as the next USAV CEO, and that it was not going to be John Speraw. And I mean, I guess at this point, there's no point in keeping it under wraps. Everybody else in America thought that Hugh McCutcheon was going to be the next CEO of USA Volleyball. It was, as far as I knew, and talking to a lot of different people in American volleyball, it was basically a done deal that Hugh McCutcheon, who coached the team, the men's national team, to gold in 2008, he coached the women's national team in 2012 at the Olympics, that Hugh McCutcheon, who had stepped down from Minnesota as the head coach a few years ago, was going to be the next USAV CEO. So that's what everybody thought. That's what I thought. I referred to it on the 9x9, or I don't remember when exactly, but several weeks ago on one of our shows that I inferred that I knew who the next CEO was. I thought it was Hugh McCutcheon, and it was not. So that news came out today, and I was really surprised. So I did not know this. I had no idea. I wasn't keeping anything from anyone or from you guys, but USA Volleyball went a different direction. Whether or not they had to, who knows? Maybe Hugh McCutcheon was offered the job and chose not to take it, and USAV had to go a different direction, but they pull somebody up into the top leadership position in the entire volleyball organization in our country, who is extremely familiar with American volleyball in every way. And that's the other thing I'll say here is that in general, I love this hire. In general, I absolutely love this hire. I think it's a fantastic choice for John. I think it's a fantastic choice for the organization, and there's a lot of layers to why and to the consequences, but we'll certainly talk about them. Another thing I'll say as a disclaimer is that I don't work for USA Volleyball. I don't represent USA Volleyball, the organization. I'm just myself. I represent my own opinions, not even Everett's opinions. This isn't even the official Volleyball Source take on anything, but I'm just talking about my thoughts, my experiences, my relationships within USA Volleyball, the little that there are, and just sort of my opinions and feelings and my experience. I don't represent USA Volleyball in any way. So I just want to make that super clear. I think, though, across the board, something that everybody in American volleyball agreed needed to happen was that we needed a volleyball person at the top of USAV. And Jamie Davis was not that. He came in, I believe, 2012-ish. When did Doug Beal retire? I should have had this written down. Whenever Jamie Davis came in 8, 10, 12-ish years ago, whenever it was, he did not come from a volleyball background. Jamie Davis had no volleyball experience. He had sports business and industry experience and came into the USA Volleyball leadership from that angle. And with a lot of the things that have happened, not so much at the national team level, but more with like USA Volleyball's relationship and their stance in the junior game in the States, which is completely different than it was at the beginning of Jamie Davis's tenure. We can certainly talk about that. A lot of people agree that when Jamie Davis's contract was announced that it wasn't going to be renewed, that everybody knew that we needed a volleyball person atop this organization. We need somebody who really knew the game, both technically and just knew the scene, knew the culture, knew the people, and knew the industry, and knew all the major players in American volleyball. And that is John Speraw, because this man has worn a ton of hats in the last several years. Obviously, he's been coaching the United States men's national team for 3 full quads. He took over that job in 2013. He has a ridiculous amount of coaching experience at the NCAA level, including being responsible for 10 national championships, which is crazy. So let's actually talk about that. Let's talk about what John Speraw has done that is in his coaching career that has now led him to this point where he is hanging up the whistle, the clipboard, whatever it is. John Speraw will not be coaching anybody on the volleyball court for the foreseeable future as he serves as USA Volleyball president CEO. So John's accomplishments, at least as the head coach at UCLA, 12 seasons, 2 national championships, including the last 2. So he went out as best he possibly could. He's won the last 2 national championships for his alma mater. He contributed to 10 national championships overall. He won 2 as the head coach at UCLA. He won 3 as the head coach at UC Irvine. He won 3 as an assistant coach at UCLA, and he won 2 as a player at UCLA. So that is a singular achievement for him and him alone. I'm confident that John Speraw is the only person to have ever accounted for national championships as a player, an assistant coach, and a head coach. Also was named AVCA Coach of the Year twice for his coaching at UCLA. And then on the USA national team, John's accomplishments in 3 full Olympic cycles. He won 2 Olympic medals, bronze in 2016, bronze a month or so ago in 2024. 3 major international medals, international gold medals. The 2014 World League and the 2015 and 2023 World Cup, technically. I know the 2023 World Cup was just going 7-0 at Olympic qualifiers. He also is on the staff as an assistant that won gold in 2008. So John's experience with volleyball in America and as part of the USA national team on the men's side is unparalleled. So he knows exactly what's going on there. And this is a good question from Seth in the chat is why is being a good volleyball coach, why does that make him qualified to be the CEO of the organization? And that's a totally fair question. It's a completely different job. It's a completely different skill set. But one thing the 2 key things that, even 3 key things that transfer. One is volleyball knowledge. I don't think that you can lead American volleyball without knowing volleyball. At least I don't think that you should, and we've seen this be successful before, and then we saw somebody take over in Jamie Davis who didn't have any volleyball experience, and in my opinion, his tenure was not overwhelmingly successful. He and the USAV organization will tell you otherwise, but I disagree. I think that Jamie Davis's tenure overall was not a success. So you need volleyball knowledge to do this job. John has that. You need leadership ability to do this job. John has that. He has been in the top leadership position in 2 major programs and has brought them to about as high as you can possibly take them. He created UCLA and brought them into now being the #1 preeminent brand, preeminent program in NCAA men's volleyball. It's not even close. UCLA now is the #1 program. It's not debatable at all. And taking command of an organization and bringing it to the top of the mountain, whether that's coaching or whatever role that is, that level of leadership and development ability, I do think transfers. And the same thing with Team USA. He won Olympic bronze twice, with a federational situation that is so much worse than every other major international Olympic medal contender, it's not even funny. Everett and I talked about it a lot this summer. Same goes for 2016, 2020, whatever. All the other men's volleyball international teams that have had perennial Olympic success and have hopes of Olympic success have substantially better federational and team situations than the United States does. John Speraw, I think, did more with less than just about any other coach in international volleyball, and he did it while working part-time. It's the other crazy part about this. He's been doing double duty for 12 years. He hasn't even been able to put the entirety of his effort into either UCLA or the U.S. men's national team because he's been doing both, and he still won 2 national championships at UCLA and won 2 Olympic medals with the USA men. I think that's pretty damn impressive, and I think that transfers. And then the other thing that transfers is just knowledge of the volleyball space. Not just knowing the game, but you have to know the players, and I don't mean on-court players anymore. I mean like players in the business world, like who in American volleyball matters, who makes decisions, who are the major stakeholders in creating the USA Volleyball organization to being a more successful business. And John knows those things. And then another hat that he has worn in the last more like 8 years is as the co-founder and I think some level of chairman of the First Point Volleyball Foundation. A foundation that he co-founded in, I think, 2016 that has done unbelievable things for the growth of boys and men's volleyball in the U.S. Just the numbers are insane. The number of states at the high school level that the First Point Foundation has helped to sanction boys volleyball, hugely positive. That's going to continue to grow. The number of NCAA programs that have been created, D3, D2, and D1, there hadn't been a D1 program, a new D1 program in decades, and we've seen a couple in the last couple of years. And then there was, of course, the creation of men's volleyball in the SEAC conference, historically black colleges and universities league that added men's volleyball and now has an auto bid to the NCAA tournament. That all is directly attributed to the First Point Volleyball Foundation. They helped get the NAIA to the whatever threshold number of teams for that to be considered a legit national championship. That's awesome. So John Speraw has helped to grow volleyball in America in a huge way, wearing 3 different major hats over the last decade plus. So I do think that he's very uniquely qualified. And then a question in the chat is, how does being the USAV CEO and president affect his role with the First Point Foundation? I don't know the answer to that. I don't see that as a conflict of interest. I think their interests are completely aligned, and both of them are nonprofit organizations. So I don't see any reason why he couldn't still have a role with First Point if he wanted it. But it also wouldn't surprise me for him to still either sit on the board or be an advisor or something of that nature while somebody else takes more of the lead on the First Point side. I don't know the answer to that, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if John continues to be involved with the First Point Foundation, because he's done awesome things. He and many others have done awesome things with it, and American volleyball, including the USA Volleyball organization, have benefited from that. So those are reasons why I think John Speraw is a good hire here. There are a lot of, and just some of John's accomplishments, there are a lot of things that the USA Volleyball organization will need to focus on in the near and not too distant future. Obviously, the USA is hosting the Olympics in Los Angeles in 2028. That has huge implications for the national teams, indoor, beach, and sitting, and also just the greater growth of volleyball in the country as we try to put our best product forward in hosting the biggest event in volleyball on home soil. So that is a big deal, and that's a unique challenge. There's also having to repair the situation at the juniors level, especially the juniors boys level, because USA Volleyball, when I was growing up, when I was playing in 2010, 2011, 2012, the USA Volleyball organization was the only place for junior boys to play. There was no other option. So USAV had kind of the monopoly on junior boys and girls volleyball. And then in the last 5-ish years, they are now no longer the only player in that space. AAU has come in and has provided some national championship opportunities for both boys and girls. But in particular, USAV is getting killed on the boys' side. And I don't really live in the juniors world as much. I don't know quite as much of the details of the things that are going on there. Matt Houlihan is a great resource for this. the guy from Beta Bay. He's posted a lot of videos in the last several months about more details of what's going on in the juniors game. But USA Volleyball has lost a lot of business leverage and has just straight up lost a lot of money due to their losing of the battle at the juniors level with AAU. And then also there's still definitely effects being felt from the COVID pandemic. I mean, that was something crazy for every business, especially a business like USAV that relies on the ability to get people to travel and be together in the same space to make money. And they couldn't do that for a long time. So all that is still going to have its ripple effects for the foreseeable future. So let's talk about kind of some of the vacancies that there now are, and like the possibility for the futures at a couple of the positions that John is leaving. We can start with UCLA. UCLA is the back-to-back defending national champion in NCAA men's volleyball. Like I said, they are the #1 undisputed program. They are the preeminent brand. They have done incredible things the last couple of years. They've been really fun to watch, and they're set up pretty damn well this year to compete for another national title. I mean, their core of players is pretty intact, and they could be preseason ranked #1. They could win another national title. It wouldn't surprise me at all. So that program now needs a new leader. And the season starts in January. The guys are on campus. The guys are in the gym for preseason, and they need to find somebody to lead that program between now and January. And whether that is promoting somebody that's already on staff, I'm sure they'll probably name somebody as the interim, probably a guy named Nick Vogel, who, as far as I know, has been the lead assistant. Well, he's an assistant, but I believe him to be the lead assistant for UCLA. There's a great chance he gets the interim tag. Maybe they keep him on as the head coach permanently, or maybe they start a search immediately. But that right now is totally up in the air. I have no idea who might take the head job at UCLA, who any leading candidates might be. I really have no clue. Some people have already been throwing names around, like David Hunt is a name that's been thrown around. He was the head coach at Pepperdine. He's now an assistant head men's coach at Pepperdine. Now he's assistant on the women's side at Texas. He could come back to the men's game in the biggest, most high-profile coaching position that's now open. I could see that, but I have no idea. I have no idea who is going to be the leading candidate to take that job. But that job is open, and that search is going to need to be done in a hurry. UCLA is more on a time crunch to figure that out between now and when their season actually starts in January. Or really, they're going to need it. They're going to need something in place by December at the latest. So UCLA is a big opening. That is the #1 job in college volleyball, I think, period. And it's the #1 opening. Like there hasn't been a job of that status that's been open in NCAA men's volleyball for years, maybe decades. I can't remember there just a wide open job of the caliber of UCLA just being open with no immediate answer. So we'll see about that one. And it's like, I'm not as plugged into the NCAA scene, so I really have no idea. If anybody knows, please let me know. If anybody has any ideas, nobody knows, but if anybody has any ideas, let me know in the chat. The other vacancy is obviously the one with the United States men's national team. And this one, I'm actually not totally surprised here. The bronze medal, winning that bronze medal match in Paris this summer, I think helps. I think that same with winning the national championship at UCLA. I think it was easy. It made it easier for John to step away from coaching, having won something major in his last match with both of his beloved programs. I mean, 2 natties in a row with your alma mater, UCLA, and then right off into the sunset. You can't draw it up any better than that. And then you can't, like, other than winning gold, which was the goal in Paris, we didn't quite get there. We lost that semifinal to Poland in 5. Beating Italy for bronze, winning your last match and standing on the podium is almost as good of an ending to your coaching career as you could ask for if you're coaching your country. So those things, I think, made it a little bit easier for John Speraw to walk away. I was wondering, I was curious, independent of him taking the CEO job for USA Volleyball, I was curious on if he was going to go another quad with the men's national team or not. I could have seen it either way. It would have been a huge motivator to be able to coach the team in your home country at the Olympics, in John's home city of Los Angeles at the Olympics. That surely would have been a huge deal and a big consideration. Now John gets to lead the entire sport going into the Olympics in his home city, not just the one team. So that's a big deal as well. But it also would have made sense to me if John had chosen not to coach the next quad, even without taking the CEO job, because this core of players that he has been with since he took over in 2013, that was the beginning of an era. It was 2014, the true beginning of the era of Micah Christensen, of Max Holt, of Matt Anderson switching to the right side, of Eric Shoji, of Aaron Russell a year later in 2015. Then, a couple years later, come on the following quad, TJ DeFalco becomes a major piece. Like all those guys that have been David Smith definitely was a big piece even before Speraw was the head coach, when Speraw was the assistant. Basically, that entire Olympic roster from this year, the only head coach that most of those guys had ever played under was John Speraw. John and that team had been one and the same for the last 12 years. And Everett and I talked a lot about this summer that Paris was likely the end of an era, and there were going to be several major players for the United States that were not going to continue with their national team careers. And we still don't know exactly who that is and who that isn't, but it made sense to me because of the timing of all that and because of the age of the guys in this core group that maybe John wasn't going to continue this next quad. Maybe somebody else was going to come in to strategize the thing and figure out how to attack these 4 years, given the unique circumstance that we're hosting the Olympics. So I'm not super surprised that we're going to need a new head coach, but it makes me like that John Speraw is the new president and CEO of USA Volleyball, because now he's going to have a significant impact, maybe the main voice in who that next coach is going to be. That I think is massively important. It's rare to be able to choose your own successor, but because of the way this works, I think that's totally possible. And this now goes back to, as we transition into kind of talking about the future for the national teams and for the USA Volleyball organization, the way I've been framing it since the Olympics was to make really kind of four major decisions. The first was to decide who was going to be the next CEO of USA Volleyball. Now we know the answer to that. It's John Speraw as of today. The second decision was going to be who was going to coach the two teams. We still don't know for sure if Karch Kirai is going to continue to coach the women's team. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't. But maybe he won't. We have no idea. If that job is going to change, now would be the time that it would change. And then obviously now there is a vacancy for the USA men going through LA 2028 and beyond that we're going to need to fill. The next step is to figure out amongst the players on both national teams, men's and women's. This is just indoor-wise. Beach is a separate conversation. But indoor-wise, we need to figure out which of our players are retiring fully, which of our players are going to take a year or two of a break, and then which of our players are sticking around and that we can build around. And both of the men and the women, there's a lot of uncertainty, and it doesn't need to be decided now by any means, but in the next several months, that is going to be a really key point to seek clarity on for the USA Volleyball organization under whatever two coaches decide to lead the two programs. Who's retiring? Who's taking a year or two off? And who's sticking around, and who can you build around immediately? I think there's going to be a lot of retirements. I think there's going to be a lot of taking a year or two off. And I think there will be a couple guys and girls from those two teams that stick around and that you can build around immediately. Nobody knows exactly who that is right now, and that's going to be important to figure out. And then the last and really important thing is we need to strategize this next Olympic cycle as far as national team tournaments and progression goes. Because we're now in the very, very unique case that we are already qualified for the Olympics. And depending on how you look at it, none of our results in the next 4 years of major tournaments up until LA 2028 really matter quite as much. Now, the international calendar has changed. Now in 2025, there will be a world championship in addition to the VNL that's played every year. So that definitely changes things. We were used to the first year of the Olympic cycle being VNL only and a continental championship, which in our case, like Norseka, we would usually send a B team that first year. And then the world championship would be that second year. It's not the case anymore. So how much does the USA Volleyball Federation want to prioritize the results of the 2025 World Championship? That's going to be a new one and something they're going to have to decide. In my opinion, I would have nothing wrong with them using the 2025 World Championship as a development tournament. I personally don't care about the results of the 2025 World Championship, and that's like one of the reasons why I disagreed with Volleyball World and the FIVB making this change to the calendar is like by doubling the frequency of the World Championship, you're devaluing the tournament. And by putting it the year after the Olympics, you're devaluing that particular World Championship the most. Because like that first year after an Olympics, the first year of a new Olympic cycle, is important for everybody to be able to try out new stuff. You need to be able to bring new players in. You need to be able to give your older players a rest. And like putting a world championship in the first year of an Olympic cycle, I don't think makes any sense for anybody. So I wouldn't disagree at all if USA Volleyball chose not to prioritize the results of the 2025 World Championship. If it were me, that's probably what I would do. Then you have 2026, you have a VNL, and you have a Continental Championship, a Norseka in our case, which serves as the first Olympic qualifier for the rest of the world. The winners of the 5 Continental Championships in 2026 will get the first 5 berths to the Olympics other than the U.S. So that Continental Championship is going to matter a lot for everybody else in the world in 2026, but not us. We're already in. So whatever. So in that 2026, are we going to send the A team, try to win the tournament, whoever the A team is at the time, or use it as a development tournament? I don't know. Either way, there's no wrong answer to that. Then in 2027, you have another VNL and you have a World Championship. That one, I think the result of the 2027 World Championship from a USA perspective matters more. That is going to be much more reflective of who teams are going to be in the Olympics in 2028. And it's also an Olympic qualifier for the rest of the world because the top 3 finishers at the 2027 World Championship who aren't already qualified get bids to the Olympics. So that tournament matters. And that is the first tournament in the cycle that I really think the results matter. Is like that's a chance for you to really put your prospective Olympic team on the floor for the first time in a major event and try and win it. And then 2028, obviously, you have a VNL. Then you have the Olympics, and then there's a completely meaningless and waste of time Continental Championship after the Olympics in 2028, which is so stupid. I can't believe they're doing that. Anyway, that entire Olympic cycle for the United States, this time around and this time only, is very unique because we have no pressure to qualify. There is no the result doesn't matter. It doesn't. Like the you want to win tournaments that you enter, of course. You want your teams to have success, but there is a much bigger goal in mind, and we have the luxury of prioritizing things differently than every other team in the world. So how do we strategize this quad? And that's something that I like, having a CEO now of the USA Volleyball Federation who has very direct experience with bringing the national teams to success, because John and the USA Volleyball organization will be able to help structure and strategize the Olympic cycle. And this is there's a precedent to this, and this is another thing that I like about this new hire for USA Volleyball. Many of you might be familiar with the great Doug Beal. This is John Speraw is not the first former national team head coach to be named CEO of the organization. Doug Beal did it as well. He played on the national team in the 70s. He coached the national team in 2 different stints, including our first gold medal ever in 1984. Then he became the CEO of the organization in the 2000s and early 2010s before he retired and was replaced by Jamie Davis. So that, I'd say, was largely very successful. Under Doug Beal's leadership as CEO, we won another Olympic gold medal in 2008. So hiring somebody with that level of volleyball experience has brought the USA Volleyball organization to successful heights before, not just at the national team level, but the business of it. The situation was very different 20 years ago, but still. So that's something that I think is going to be one of John's main priorities as the new CEO, is to create and structure a relationship between the USA Volleyball organization, which is headquartered in Colorado Springs, and the United States men's and women's indoor national teams, which train in Anaheim, California. And I want to be super clear about this. At this moment, as of the last several Olympic cycles, including this year, There is absolutely no relationship right now between the USA national teams and the USA Volleyball Federation. That is a complete disconnect. Those two entities don't connect, don't coordinate. They don't do anything together at all. Operationally, nothing. There's like the budget is connected, and some of the marketing and hosted events, like when the national team plays at home, that is connected. But the operational relationship between the United States national teams and the USA Volleyball organization does not exist. Those two things are not connected right now. That is something that should and almost certainly will be built with John Speraw at the head of the organization in Colorado Springs. The USA Volleyball Federation is headquartered in Colorado Springs. A connection between them and the national team needs to be built, and we need to help get the most out of our national teams by supporting them from the USA Volleyball organizational level. That has not been happening, and soon that will happen. That will be a priority of John Speraw. Another huge priority of John Speraw will be the continued growth of the boys and men's game. What the First Point Volleyball Foundation has already done is nothing but good and beneficial for the USA Volleyball organization. If there are more opportunities for boys, young men, and men to play volleyball, that is more potential USA Volleyball memberships. That's more potential USA Volleyball athletes. That's better national teams. That's more bodies playing at the youth level. That's more income for the USA Volleyball organization all around. So the continued growth of the game in America, especially at the boys level, is massively important. Because we've got it at the girls level. At the junior girls level, no problems. We've probably got more. Well, I know for a fact that volleyball is the most popular sport amongst under 18-year-old girls in the United States. They're middle school and high school girls play volleyball more than any other sport in the country. That's at the high school level and at the junior club level. So we're killing it there. We've got the bodies, we've got the talent, we've got the income at the junior level. At least the potential for income at the junior level, which before there was a split in opportunities between USA Volleyball and AAU. But we've got the bodies there, and the NCAA on the women's side speaks for itself. The number of teams, the number of opportunities, and the quality of the product, and the way that the NCAA feeds into the women's national team is already well developed enough. So that's huge. The boys' side still lags behind tremendously. Now, there's been a huge amount of positive growth though there in the last decade. A lot of that John Speraw gets credit for with the First Point Foundation and with what he's done, creating examples and opportunities at the highest levels. But that's going to continue to happen, and that's good. So all that stuff is good so far. Another thing that needs to change, or at least be grown and be developed, is the national team development systems. Like, how are we training and developing and creating national team caliber athletes from a younger age? That is currently the national team development program. It exists. It is completely run by USA Volleyball, and it seeks to develop younger athletes to be national team ready players. Somebody like John Speraw at the helm of that is going to help strengthen that development program. I could see him reprioritizing a lot of things as it relates to the national team development program. We've never really sent youth or junior teams to international events as much as others. U17 we never do. U19 we have barely ever touched, especially on the boys' side. U21, we kind of start to get there. Like the age group, like the younger age group, continental and world championships have never been a huge priority for USA Volleyball. And I could see that maybe becoming a higher priority under John's leadership, which I think is a great idea to develop national team ready athletes. Get players playing international style volleyball, training in international settings, competing against other international teams from a younger age. I could see that being a hugely good thing. It's something we don't do very much right now, and something that I could see him wanting to develop more. And then Another thing that's just going to be really important is just the state of the sport of volleyball in the country, how it is viewed, how it is portrayed, how it is consumed, how it is marketed, how people see it. There's a lot of levels to that, and John knowing the sport and understanding the product is really important to somebody at the top, helping to sell it. That's sell it in many ways. Selling the opportunity to play volleyball to more kids at the juniors level, more bodies, more income, great. Selling the NCAA and international products in terms of maybe TV deals, viewership, and then in-person event attendance. Everybody knows my thoughts about how USA Volleyball has hosted national team events. It has been historically rather embarrassing. In the last decade, at least, we have done a horrendous job of hosting national team events and putting our best foot forward and marketing and creating a good consumable product. When the national team plays at home, the USA Volleyball organization has done a horrible job of maximizing those opportunities. We don't get them often. We have done a terrible job with those opportunities when we've had them. That needs to change, and John, I think he certainly can't do a worse job with that. So somebody who understands the sport, understands the product, hopefully will do a better job with those things. And just like the unique position that we're in, that American volleyball is in, to be hosting the next Olympics, and to put the USA Volleyball organization in a position to capitalize on that the most, especially in John's backyard in LA, is a big deal and is going to fall under his leadership. Now this is going to get into like my opinionated portion of the conversation here. Is like I want to talk about how somebody like John Speraw can and hopefully will change the culture of the USA Volleyball organization. So again, I don't represent USA Volleyball. I don't work for USA Volleyball. That these opinions are my own. These are just like my own stories, my own experiences. So take everything here for just coming from me and nobody else. The USA Volleyball as an organization, I think really needs to change the way that they operate and the way that they do things, the way that they view themselves, the way that they view the sport, the way that they view their business relationships. There's just a lot that needs to change there. I think there's been a big wake-up call in the fact that AAU came in the last 5 years and is starting to dominate them at the juniors level and take away a lot of their income. Because I think USA Volleyball for a long time operated in that we are USA Volleyball. We are the governing body of the sport in the country. We are the only option. What we say goes. USA Volleyball is notoriously unwilling to listen and adjust and adapt to what its stakeholders want or need. That is something that needs to change. That's something that caused a lot of clubs, programs to leave USA Volleyball for better opportunities at the juniors level, is that USA Volleyball doesn't want to adapt. They don't want to listen. They don't want to change the way that they do things because they have believed for a long time that they are USA Volleyball and everybody else has no choice but to do it USA Volleyball's way. It's a good thing that they've had that wake-up call, that maybe they understand now that that's not the case anymore. But that there's going to be a huge culture shift in this, the way that organization operates day to day, and how from John all the way down the umbrella of everybody that works for that organization, and just how they go about their business, how they go about treating their team, treating their stakeholders, and just doing business within American volleyball, because they need more collaboration. They need more relationship building. They can't afford to draw lines in the sand and say that we're not going to adapt to the way that anybody else wants things to be done, or hear anybody else's opinions or any of that. That this has to be a collaborative, an organization that is easier to work with from here on out. And that's all going to come from the CEO. That's how companies work. Company culture comes from the top, no matter if it's a volleyball organization or anybody else. So that's going to come from John, and I think that needs to change, and it will be great for for the organization to turn a corner on kind of the way they do business with things. There also is going to be, hopefully, a willingness to invest in the sport itself, especially at the top levels. I think that the USA Volleyball organization has always viewed itself as where their money, most of their income comes from the juniors levels. That's really their business. And then they produce national teams. They produce and support national teams that go out and compete and do their best. But in my opinion, the USA Volleyball organization has never viewed its national teams as an asset. USA Volleyball, to me, has always viewed its national teams, this is beach, indoor, and sitting, all three of them, as an obligation or as an expense of sorts, as a something that you have to budget for supporting and operating so that they can go and do their thing, but that aren't likely to bring you any income. And that's because they've been unwilling, I think, to see those national teams as an asset and as a product and as something that you can sell and as something that you can create excitement about and create hype about and create demand for. USA Volleyball has never created demand for volleyball. They've just like built opportunities to play volleyball and assumed that the demand would create itself. And that's just not how that works. It's never been an organization good at marketing. And I hope that changes. I really do. I hope, and John Speraw knows this. He knows the product. He's a volleyball coach. He's a damn good one. He knows how good the USA Volleyball product is of the national teams. And just of volleyball in America. The NCAA is a great product. He knows that. There's an opportunity now for USA Volleyball to view its national teams and to view high-level volleyball as more than an obligation and to view it as an asset and view it as something that they can create demand for and create excitement around. And there's another really big opportunity and there's something that's obviously going on in American volleyball that USA Volleyball sooner or later is going to have to take a stance on, and that's the professional game. USA Volleyball has at the moment has not put its flag in the ground and designated one of the 5 professional volleyball leagues that exist in the US right now. USA Volleyball has never planted its flag and said, this league is our league in the United States. That has never happened in the current landscape. Previously, in several different attempts in the past, USA Volleyball itself has tried to, from within, create its own professional structures, and it's never really happened. I think there was one in the 90s that never worked. There was the PVL in the 2010s that never worked. And now they're just on the indoor side, there's the NVA, there's the VLA, there's Athletes Unlimited, there is the Pro Volleyball Federation, and there's League One. Especially on the women's side, there's a lot of money in all 3 of those things. Athletes Unlimited is about to play, I think its 3rd or 4th season. The PVF is about to play its 2nd season, and League One is about to play its 1st season. None of those are like the official women's professional league of USA Volleyball. USA Volleyball has not picked a side or has not designated one of those leagues as its league. Every other federation in the world has that, and it's never even been a competition. The Polish Federation obviously recognizes the Plus Liga and the Tauron Liga as its professional leagues. And the Polish Federation makes money off of those 2 leagues. The Italian Volleyball Federation obviously recognizes the Superlega and the Lega Volley Femminile as its professional leagues, and there's a business relationship there. Brazil, Russia even, France, Germany, every other volleyball country in the world that has a league, that has a professional club league, that club league is directly tied to and recognized by the national governing body. That has not happened in the US yet. To a degree, I understand why USA Volleyball has not taken a side, because so far there's not a winner on either the men's or the women's side. There isn't a clear American league on either side right now, on the men's or the women's side. So it makes sense for them not to have chosen one. But I also think that they haven't chosen one out of a little bit. It's a little bit of that unflexibility and unwillingness to work with anybody that I mentioned earlier, and also just the seeing of the high levels of volleyball as an obligation and not a potential asset. USA Volleyball doesn't right now understand what it could do for them to have a direct relationship with a professional volleyball entity that makes them money, because they've never had that before. They've tried to build it and they've failed. So if they built that, or not if they built that, somebody else is going to build it. That's very clear. People are already building it, myself included. But if USA Volleyball sees the leagues that are trying to build right now to create professional club volleyball, and it picks a winner and establishes that is going to be the American Professional Club Volleyball League, that is going to be massive for the sport in this country. Huge. So many more opportunities for American athletes to play pro at home. That's very uniquely North American, that we can't do that. Our players can't do that. They have to go abroad. That's huge. That makes your national teams better. That makes your NCAA programs better. That gives way more opportunities for youth to play because they see it. If they see it at the top, there will be more people interested in volleyball that want to play volleyball, that are paying money to USA Volleyball, that are helping volleyball grow, and all of that comes back to USA Volleyball at the end of the day. If they attach themselves to a club league on the men's and or women's sides, that will be huge for American volleyball business. That hasn't happened yet. That's not going to happen in the near future because the leagues are going to do battle amongst themselves for one of them to be the league on both the men's and the women's sides. But when that happens, I think USA Volleyball under John Speraw's leadership is going to be more willing to say, we're in, this is our league, this is it, let's go. Because already I think they've learned from what's going on the beach side. First, and I don't know very much about beach. I'm speaking from much further distance away than on the indoor side, but the AVP has been up and down. It's seen a lot of iterations, but in general, the AVP is decently commercially successful. And only recently did USA Volleyball want anything to do with the AVP. But before that, as far as I know, the AVP and USA Beach Volleyball had absolutely no overlap at all. They had no relationship. They wanted nothing to do with one another. And only recently have they decided, finally, really USA Volleyball has decided, okay, finally, the AVP is doing good things. It's helping us grow beach volleyball in America. We should really get on the same page and align on a common goal here. They've done that. I think that's going to continue to be good for American beach volleyball. And I think if and when USA Volleyball attaches itself to a professional club league, that will be good for indoor volleyball as well. So that's important. I think that's something that's going on in the background that I'm sure USA Volleyball has its eyes on very closely. And there are people talking about right now, like, can you imagine what would happen? Can you imagine how good we would be at volleyball if we cared about it, if we prioritized it as a country, if we had more opportunities for it, if a higher percentage of our population played volleyball from the beginning, if we trained national team caliber athletes from the beginning, if we focused on giving more opportunities to play at the high levels, if we pumped American level sports money into volleyball at the high levels, can you imagine how good we would be? It would be over for the rest of the world. It would be like the USA men's basketball team and women's basketball team, who's even more dominant. It would be like those teams. If we got a higher percentage of our young athletes playing volleyball at high levels and gave them something to aspire to and gave them an opportunity to play as the levels go up all the way up to the professional level where they can actually make a living playing in America, it would be over for the rest of the world. It would be over. And it would be incredible. We would be so good. If we have the athlete base, we have the population, and we have the sports culture in America to do this with any sport if we can create it. And that is something that should be incredibly exciting for USA Volleyball. They've never seen it that way, and I think that they should. And I think that somebody like John Speraw will. So I think that that's awesome. I'm scanning through the chat. There's one other point that I really want to bring up here as far as John Speraw's career change before we go, but I want to scan through the chat and try to address some other questions about like all the different moving parts that there are here. We have people talking about the women's coaching situation. We have no idea what Coach Speraw is choosing to do yet. We don't know if he is going to stay the women's national team coach. We don't know if he's going to do something else. We have no idea. Right now, Coach Speraw is the women's head coach, but we don't know if he's going to stay that way or if he's not. We don't know. We know that there is a vacancy at USA men's head coach and obviously at UCLA head coach, and that those coaching searches are going to need to be figured out quickly. And like I said, the order that things are going to need to be done here is hire a USA CEO, check. Decide who the national team coaches are. Decide or understand which of our current national team players are continuing versus taking a break versus retiring fully, and then strategize the quad. As far as national team goes, those are the steps, and all that stuff is going to be figured out before next summer, obviously, and hopefully more like before the new year in a perfect world. On the topic of money, so somebody is bringing up this in the chat. Ooh, somebody Ozzy. Great point of Javier Weber. I should have addressed this. Like who are maybe some candidates to take over as the USA men's head coach? The short answer is I don't know. The long answer is there are probably a bunch. There are some names that have been thrown around. People have talked about Alan Knipe coming back. He coached the national team before in the 2012 quad. We lost in the quarterfinals of the Olympics that year in kind of a transition period between two eras. I would be surprised if it was Alan Knipe, to be honest. I would be surprised if he left Long Beach State, although his son graduated and isn't there anymore playing for him. So maybe that's a choice. Javier Weber is a really attractive one to me. If any of you watched the Olympics and watched like the American men's team closely, in the last 2 years since Javier Weber, the Argentinian guy, has been brought on as a lead assistant, but especially at the Olympic Games, it looked to me like Javier Weber kind of commanded that team. It looked to me like in timeouts, at least, Javier Weber was doing a lot of the coaching, of the communicating with the players, and of what I would think a head coach would do. It kind of looked like Javier Weber was doing a lot of those things for the USA men this summer. I think his knowledge of the international game is unparalleled. I think that's a big reason why we brought him in, because I think notably a conversation piece was that because John Speraw was doing double duty and because he was coaching UCLA and not following the international game, the international club game, our staff kind of lacked a knowledge of who was who and what was going on in the international game. So we brought in Javier Weber, who knew that stuff. We've never hired a coach that wasn't American. That isn't a deal breaker for me. I would personally would love to see Javier Weber coach the USA men's national team. The problem right now is that Javier Weber just signed a contract to coach a club in the Japanese men's league, and that is a 12-month a year contract. So right now, him doing double duty and coaching club as well as national team is not an option. It's the same reason why Philippe Blaine left the Japanese men's national team coaching gig, because I'm pretty sure he took a Japanese club league coaching position as well, and that's 12 months a year. So he can no longer do double duty. As far right now, Javier Weber, that's his situation. He's coaching a Japanese club team at 12 months a year. Could that change? I don't know. Maybe John Speraw tries and throws enough money to pull Javier Weber to coach the men's national team full time. That's possible. Yeah, that is also the case in Poland. Reality check, great point. That's why Nikola Grbic can't coach club anymore, because he coaches the Polish national team. Same thing in Italy, actually, for Ferdinando De Giorgi for the men's team, and until recently, it was still with Julio Velasco for the women's team. So there's a lot of cases that federations don't allow their coaches to do double duty, and clubs won't allow their coaches to do double duty either. So that is a factor to consider with who is the next coach of the men's national team. We'll see. Speaking of the men's national team, this is an interesting point. The USA Volleyball, the organization, is is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. What that means is that the salaries, amongst other things, one of the things that means is that the salaries of every USA Volleyball employee is public. It's public record. So we know exactly how much Jamie Davis, the CEO of USA Volleyball, exactly how much he makes a year. And we know exactly how much John Speraw and Coach Speraw, the head coaches of the national teams, how much they make a year. And additionally, UCLA, the University of California, Los Angeles, as a member of the University of California university system, that is a public university, a state university. All of its employees' salaries are also public record. So we know exactly how much John Speraw made a year as the coach of UCLA. I pulled all these numbers. I know exactly what's going on here. As for the USA Volleyball salaries, the last year data that we have is 2022. So these are 2-year-old numbers, and you can assume that these numbers are higher now because I was looking through the patterns and these salaries increased pretty steadily every year. As of 2022, Jamie Davis, the CEO of USA Volleyball, his salary was $589,000 USD a year. Coach Speraw, his salary in 2022 as the full-time 12-month-a-year head coach of the women's national team was $398,000 USD a year. John Speraw's salary as the head coach of the men's national team, which was not 12 months a year, his salary was $244,000 USD a year as of 2022. So Karch is making about $400 a year. John Speraw was making about $245 a year, and Jamie Davis was making about $590 a year as the CEO. This is as of 2 years ago. Those numbers are probably higher now. John Speraw at UCLA as the head coach as of 2023, his salary at UCLA was about $268,000 USD a year. So John Speraw's total annual income between UCLA and the USA men's national team was about $512,000 USD a year combined. That's as of last year with his 2023 UCLA salary, his 2022 USA salary. 512 or 513 a year compared to the CEO of USA Volleyball, which was 590 a year. So this alone, this new position for John Speraw is a raise. He is making more money. He will make more money as the CEO of USA Volleyball than he did in his 2 coaching roles combined. There's also the fact that John Speraw has 2 pretty young daughters. I don't know exactly how old his kids are, but him and his wife, I wouldn't be surprised at all if there's a big lifestyle component to this move. I bet that he really wants a job that is less travel intensive. When during the summer with USA, like he's there training in Anaheim for, I don't know, 6 weeks at most. And then other than that, he's flying around the world. He's flying around the world to all these tournaments. During UCLA season, he's at home a decent amount in Southern California, but he's on the road all the time. And then he's got to squeeze in some time in the off season for UCLA to fly around the country and try and recruit. So his jobs previously have been incredibly, like, explicitly time intensive and extremely travel intensive. And I congratulate John on a hugely awesome move for his family. Whether or not he moves to Colorado Springs, I have no idea. I don't know if he's going to do that or not. But he's getting a raise, and his work-life balance is probably going to improve substantially with two. I know his kids are at least under 10 years old each. He's got 2 relatively young kids at home. He's going to be making more money, and he's going to be able to spend more time with them. And who wouldn't do that, honestly? Like, who wouldn't take more money and a chance to spend more time with your kids and your family? Good for him. Congratulations to him. I think that's awesome, and I probably would do the same thing if I were him, especially if I could end my career as the coach of 2 programs which he loves, with winning an Olympic medal match and winning an NCAA championship. It's hard to go out on a better note than that. So good for John. My sincerest congratulations go to him. My thanks go to him as well. Like, it's been awesome to get to know John Speraw over the past really just 2 years. Like I and Everett as well. We've talked to John a lot over the last 2 years. in both a USA and a UCLA context, and I have nothing but respect and love for him as a human being. I think he's an awesome leader. I think he's a great volleyball person. I think he loves volleyball in the United States, and is passionate about growing it. And in his press conference or his press release today, he said, quote, like, I am ready to lead. I am ready to serve. And I'm ready for him to do that for us, for me, and for the sport in my country that I love. So congratulations to John. Best wishes to John. Best of luck to him. Thanks for what he's already done for American volleyball, and thanks for what he'll continue to do. And I hope to get a chance to talk to him and get a chance to ask him both on and off the record about this move very soon. I would love to pick his brain on what this change means to him, and what his immediate goals are, and what just kind of all the moving parts about this, and just hear his thoughts, because he's really articulate, and he's a guy I love to talk to, and a guy that I think is never shy about letting people know what he thinks and how he feels about the sport that we all love. So I think that's about it. I think that's kind of all I wanted to get out there. This is a big day. It's a big announcement. It's one that I did not see coming, but I wanted to just spit some thoughts out there, get some stuff on the record, and just have a conversation about the direction of volleyball, of my beloved sport and my beloved country. So hope you all enjoyed. Definitely drop any, if you're watching this after the fact, after we go live, drop any questions in the comments, and I'll come back and try and answer them if I know any answers. But there's going to be a lot of news, I'm sure, that'll come out over the next several months about the national teams, about just like initiatives that the USA Volleyball Federation is going to undertake. Like, the beginning of the Olympic cycle is when a lot of new things happen, and a lot of like new systems, structures, partnerships, all sorts of things are getting figured out and getting put in place right about now, and will be announced over the next few months. So it's going to be interesting, and we'll be talking about them on the 9x9 and all our other formats as all that stuff comes out. So thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to Volleyball Source. Make sure you join the Volleyball Source Discord. The link's in the description if you really want to chat ball all the time. We have a USA channel, USA specific channel in there that isn't overwhelmingly active. I would like to see more Americans join and more American people talk about American volleyball in there more often. So that'd be really cool. And then leave a comment if you have any questions, and I'll try and come back and answer them. Yes, I saw the Polish Super Cup today. That match was unbelievable. Speaking of American volleyball, Aaron Russell MVP. Love to see it. Savierche won, I think, 21-19 in the fifth. It was sick. Unreal match. A lot of good stuff going on in volleyball right now. A lot of good stuff going on in American volleyball, in the volleyball globally, in the Volleyball Source world with Everett and I and others. So stick around, and we will be back whenever the next time is. Thanks for watching.